One Developer Podcast.
Nice. I'm Collin.
I'm Brendan.
And welcome to the 1X Developer Podcast. I don't know, I had to load. I had to what do they call it? What does they call it? Like when Claude is thinking or when ChatGPT is thinking? Like I had to
I don't know.
to ruminate.
Yeah,
I was loading. There's too many requests right now.
Buffering.
Yeah.
Recalculating.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about AI tools, but specifically I think we want to respond to two different things that we were looking at in the last week or so, right? So I'm going to put these in the show notes. First one is Vibe Code or Retire by Andrew C. Oliver.
Yeah, this is an article from InfoWorld. And yeah, the title kind of says it all. He basically says, learn to vibe code or get ready to retire. Like
or die.
Or just go die. Yeah. No, he says those are your two options right now. You're basically in the future, everyone's going to just vibe code. And if you don't learn to do that relatively soon, you should probably just hang it up and not be a software developer anymore.
Bold claims.
Yeah.
And then the second one is related, but like totally different source. A computer file video called AI's version of Moore's Law? ? Have you ever watched Computer File before this?
No, never heard of him.
I'm a big fan of Computer File. I think I watched them a lot in college. Now I'm a little bit more like a lot of their videos are kind of, I think they're more geared for students, people that are like a little less experienced. So sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, it's kind of, just explaining like what a binary tree is or whatever. But they make really good content.
Yeah, I really like this video. I thought it was a really good interview. I'd like to check out more of their stuff. It seemed like a good channel.
So this one is basically positing that perhaps, like Moore's Law, there's a predictable pattern to the development of AI tooling that we can use to project into the future how advanced these tools are going to continue to get.
Yeah.
So what do you want to start with?
I want to start with the topic of vibe coding itself, because I got a bone to pick.
Okay, let's go.
I feel like we might have touched on the podcast on this before, but in this article, this dude conflates vibe coding with AI-assisted coding. He basically treats them as identical things.
Yeah.
And I've seen more and more, just as vibe coding has become like a more prominent term, I feel like I've seen this more and more. I don't think that's right. I think we can use AI-assisted coding and we can use AI, editors with built-in AI and stuff like that. And I feel like vibe coding is taking that to another level. It's not just using the AI assistant. It's like trusting the AI assistant with your life, right? Am I wrong on that?
So that's my interpretation. And I mean, in the article, he links to another InfoWorld article, which says vibe coding is a new way of coding with AI where you guide the model only through natural language. As in, you're not giving it snippets. You're not. I mean, when I think, I'm with you. Like when I hear the term vibe coding, I'm thinking like, I'm not even really talking about technical aspects. Like I'm going in there and I'm like, make me a to-do list app, period. And then like when it doesn't work, I just say like, make it work. Or when it doesn't look right, I say, make it look like this.
Yeah.
That's my idea.
That's my idea too. And like whatever errors you might get, you just kind of like feed those back into the AI and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And if you can't work around some feature, then like, I guess it wasn't that important. You just kind of like if you can't get it to work with the AI, then you don't there's no concept of like going in there and fixing code manually. If you can't get it to work with the AI, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's what I think of when I hear a vibe code, and I also agree. I think what he's talking about in this article isn't really that. It sounds like he's talking about senior engineers just using these tools to be more productive.
Right. Yes. 100% agree. And that's so. That was my first. I don't know, my first bone to pick in this article. Yeah, I think what he's describing here, I think he's spot on in saying that this is how we're going to write code in the future. But yeah, I disagree with characterizing it as vibe coding. I think it's just AI assisted coding. And he even talks about in the article, these tools are in their infancy. A lot of the stuff they're generating right now is just not very good. And but he says at one point, like, that's on you. You need to understand this stuff better and be a better programmer in order to make the tools do what you want. And right. Yeah, so to me, I think that's totally accurate. I don't think that's vibe coding.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I kind of wonder if vibe code is like a keyword he had to get in there to get people to click on the article. You know what I mean? That's a game we have to play.
Yep, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I also agree. Well, so what is like the last thing that came out that everybody in software had to learn, or you were going to be left behind? Like, I mean, there's like Git, right? I think Git was like, okay, after some time it became, you have to know this.
Yeah. Man, that's a really good question. These things that are really like sea changes, I don't know. I'm tempted to put like containerization and Docker and stuff up there.
Okay, yeah.
Except that I never learned them.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is I feel like there are some, you see these things and then it's like, sometimes they're just not really true. Sometimes they're like a fad, sometimes they kind of blow over, or they go out of style.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of like old like Emacs guys or like old Vim guys, they completely tune this type of language out completely, right? They're like, no, I use these tools and I've been using them and I'm just going to keep using them. And like, no, I don't have to learn anything unless I see the value in it.
Yeah. And I think I think in this article, he's basically considering those people as people that are on the path to retirement.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to learn the new stuff, then you're kind of just like marking yourself for, I don't know, getting ready for retirement. Basically, you're gonna do the rest of your days using these tools that you've always used.
Yeah, but here's something I find a little odd. Like I've seen people tweet stuff like this a lot. Like if you're not learning prompt engineering, you're going to be left behind. You're not. That's the future of this and stuff. But it's a little odd because like, okay, so like Git is something you learn. Containerization is something you learn. Prompt engineering, there's a little bit of an art to it, but like, I feel like the thing that makes these AI tools so powerful is that like an idiot can kind of use them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I guess you could say it's a little bit similar to learning how to use Google in the earlier days, right? Because there was, especially in the early days, there was a lot of finesse to Googling, right? You kind of had to know what to do, what you kind of had to like learn what links to ignore and like how to do that.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't feel like vibe coding is like a skill that you need to invest a lot of time into learning, really.
I agree. I've been having that same feeling in my limited experience with like windsurf and stuff like that. I just kind of have this feeling, talking about learning these tools. I don't mean to sound like an arrogant prick or something, but I feel like people can pick them up pretty easily. Like that's the whole point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
they're easy. They're supposed to be much easier than like learning the syntax of a programming language.
Yeah, it's natural language. So, I mean, I think for our windsurf video, the hardest thing for me about learning it was just learning the ways in which I like to use these types of tools, right? Mm-hmm. So I've discovered I don't really like these like editors that are looking at all my stuff and like are rewriting all this other stuff that I didn't tell it to do and that kind of thing. I like just copying and pasting snippets into my browser, which I feel really dumb when I do that. I feel like most people who are doing this really effectively aren't doing that, but I like doing it that way. I like having a very like, I like limiting what the tool is editing and then being like in full control of what I take from there and put back into my code, you know?
Yep. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. That's really more, would you say that that's pretty much akin to using the conversation mode and not so much like the code generation mode in Windsurf?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I will like go in my browser and say like, hey, make a function that does this or whatever as a starting point. But I don't know. I feel like what I do is more of a mix between like not even vibe coding, but like AI assisted. I mean, it is AI assisted, but I try to keep it. I don't know. I try to just do it in a way where I still have a mental model of everything I'm seeing. You know?
Yeah. I think that's the really concerning part is when you lose that mental model, when you, I don't know. Yeah, it worries me a lot that to not even understand a lot of parts of the system that I'm working on. I don't know. Just maybe that's just my experience in working with these systems is that everything's so interconnected, right? It's really, it's hard if you are working on something and you really don't, you're just kind of like leaving it to the AI to understand it for you.
Yeah. Well, and like I'm working on a project now with a friend who's doing a lot of vibe coding, and I would say the most difficult thing is that like his commits will be very large, like a lot. The tools will rewrite tons and tons of stuff, and it more than anything, it just makes merging difficult, and it also it's a little jarring just when you come back to a project next week and like everything's different, you know.
Yeah. That makes it really hard to develop like tribal knowledge or whatever you want to call it if you're assuming you're working in a team or something like that. Yeah.
So I guess it's not that much different from like joining an existing project where there's all this stuff that everybody knows except you. Except the difference is like nobody really knows what this is.
Right. It came from a black box.
Yeah. But I will say, I think like the spirit of this article is more in response to people who are very dismissive of AI tools, right? There seems to be this movement of, you know, there's kind of like two camps, right? There's people who are like, yeah, I vibe code all the time, all day, everything. I let the computer do everything for me. And then there's people who think that this is like a fad. This is going to blow over. This is like overblown. These are worthless. These tools are not worthless. Like these tools have value. And I think that they have a place moving forward in this industry. I don't know what that place will be or what it's going to look like, but I feel like that's what what's his name, Andrew, is saying here is like, hey, you sound like grumpy old men when you say that this is just a dumb thing for kids.
Yeah, and I really do agree with that. I do agree with the spirit of it. Like part of our job in a fast-moving industry is to keep up with trends. If you want to, it's not even just the practical aspect of like, do you want to stay employed? It really is like, part of our job is to keep up with these things as they're emerging, and AI is a big one. There's just no question about that. I agree that, you know, it's going to have a place, and it kind of remains to be seen what that place is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him there. Let me tell you one of the other things I do disagree with him about. He says there's a quote in here where he says, "You are not a code poet." He says, "We're writing business software. You're not a code poet. Nobody cares about craftsmanship." And I kind of disagree with that sentiment. Like I totally get what he's saying there. And I feel like usually when I fought my boss about something, you know, like he's like, just do it the quick and dirty way. And I'm like, no, I have to like craft these immaculate classes and I have to do it like this more complex way that's going to save us technical debt down the line, I usually end up being wrong. And like the right answer was to like actually write something and ship it. But I disagree with, I don't know, I disagree with characterizing our jobs that way, that there's no craftsmanship to it. I think it's really, even just mentally, even just for like morale, I think it's good to think of ourselves as crafting something that's important and not just like give up that fight and be like, we're writing business software and like just get AI to generate something and then like we'll throw it away when we need a version 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's kind of the deeper issue here is like, I think the AI tools have shown in a way that a lot of people look at this job in totally different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And some people view this as making, I hear people say like, like plumbing, like this is like web plumbing, you do all day. And there are jobs like that. And I mean, the job can be that. I don't know. I mean, it's always been a weird kind of middle ground, right? Where it's like it's a practical thing. We're solving real business problems, but there is an art to it, and that's what draws us to it. And it should be fun. I don't know.
Yeah. And it should engage the artistic, creative side of our mind, ideally.
I mean, somebody doesn't make a podcast about business solution like generating.
Yeah.
They make podcasts about something that they have a passion for and like they like talking about and discussing, and I try to kind of see both sides with that kind of stuff. When you have a PR that's stuck because two guys are arguing about tabs versus spaces or whatever, I try to be, okay, hey, let's be practical about this. But I also try not to be like, I try not to remove the things that I like about doing this from what I do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to say it. It's, we've talked on the podcast about the engineering mindset, right? Software engineering and maybe STEM more broadly attracts a certain kind of mind. Like your mind works a certain way, and you like solving problems, and you like elegant, often simple solutions. Those kinds of people are just attracted to programming, I think. And yeah, if you get rid of that and you're just like, I don't know, shove whatever out the door, I think it makes your day-to-day job much less palatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to say it. Keep the parts of your job that you like. That doesn't mean you don't ship anything, but it does mean you try to keep those intact, those parts that attracted you to programming in the first place. Sometimes I like to think of it as painting, right? You can paint the Mona Lisa or you can paint a house, right? But there's some ways of looking at it that are creative and some ways that are just a job that needs to be done. But
yeah, but I feel like the average 1X developer has they're doing something in between, right? They're doing something a little bit in between of like expressive art and like construction, right? Like I don't know. I feel like we're people who like paint murals outside businesses or something like that,
Right. It's serving a function, but still engages you creatively. Maybe, may looks nice. It's elegantly executed.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say about this article?
One of the things he mentions is just that these tools are going to get better. maybe I already said this, but yeah, he just kind of says that these tools are in their infancy right now, and like now's the time to be learning them. Kind of like you were saying, I wonder about, is it really, I don't know, if I wait 5 years to do it, am I going to be like too late, or are the tools just going to be that much better that it's that much easier to do? I think that's kind of an open question, but I mean, I do think he's right that what we're seeing right now, as helpful as it is already, is the tools are just going to get better and better. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good segue into the video. So the video being basically, so we all know Moore's law, right? Well, actually, hang on. Do I know Moore's law? It's every 2 years. No, every
18 months, I think.
Every 18 months, the amount of transistors in a CPU will double. Yes,
I think it's. Yeah, I think it's more technical than some people. Than I often think it is, but that's the basic gist. Yeah, it's often translated as basically computing power will double every 18 months. And I don't know if that's number of transistors in a specific space or if it's on a CPU or whatever, but computing power.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, that's the general idea. And it was stated by a guy named Moore, and I think in like the 80s or something. Like, it's held true for a very long time.
Yeah. I think he's an Intel guy, or was.
Okay. So this is basically saying that there may be something similar for the ability of AI tools. Something I got to say about Moore's law before we even get started. It's always bothered me a little bit because I believe Moore's law is like not a law, technically. Like from terms of like science, right? Like a scientific law.
Oh.
I looked it up. It's a statement based on repeated experiments or observations that describe or predict a range of natural phenomena. The term law has diverse usage in many cases. Well, it has diverse uses, so maybe it is. The thing that's always bugged me is I always had this idea that a law is something that is like always true. And we know that Moore's law has a cap, right?
Do we? Tell me about that. I don't know the limits.
I mean, just in the fact that there is an upper limit to how small a traditional transistor can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can't be smaller than an electron, right?
Yeah.
And there's an upper limit to how fast electrons can go. So, I mean, I don't know how long it would take to get there, but like, we know that there is a cap to how fast like electrons can move around circuits as we have them today, right? And that's what Moore's law is. I think, actually, let me look it up, because I think Moore's law might actually contain. I think there might actually be like a date range for it or something. First of all, he said this in 1965.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that old.
Gordon Moore, who in 1965 noted that the number of components per integrated circuit had been doubling every year, and projected this rate of growth would continue for at least another decade. So he was 100% right. Right. In 1975, looking forward to the next decade, he revised the forecast to doubling every 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Well, so, and see, like that, maybe that technically that's a law or not, I don't know, but that doesn't feel like a law to me, to say that this is going to happen for the next 10 years. And then 10 years later say, well, now it's going to happen like this for another 10 years. That's just a prediction. Right? That's just a hypothesis.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe a postulate or something.
Yeah, hypothesis. We use law colloquially sometimes, though, like, what's the one about arguing on the internet and like how fast Nazis will come up? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
what was it, Goodwin's law?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Or even the law that anything that can go wrong will.
Murphy's
that has a
law.
name. Murphy's law, yeah.
Yeah.
which is like not a law because sometimes things don't go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like that has there have been things that have gone right before.
Maybe for you, pal.
For now, I guess is what you could always say.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah, I think law has a we use it colloquially in a certain way that's not doesn't meet the like rigorous scientific definition of a law like the law of gravity does.
Right. I'm being pedantic. Okay, so the video was what was it? So they did a bunch of research, which was really interesting. Because that's like off rip. That's like, okay, how do you gauge? You know, there's all these benchmarks and stuff comparing these different models and that sort of stuff, and it's like, okay, when you say that this one is better than this one, like, what does that mean? Like, how do we compare the reasoning ability of two different things?
Yeah.
And how did they do it? I don't remember. I mean,
this is one of the most interesting parts of it. I thought so. Basically, they had human experts perform a task, and they recorded how long it took them, and then they had AI perform the same task, and they would see how long it took them, and the chance of them performing it successfully, right? So what they're comparing is the length of time of a task. I'm drawing a blank now on why they did the human expert thing, but basically the idea is that right. Okay, so for a task that takes a human expert 1 hour, what is the when do we reach AI performing that same task successfully 50% of the time? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's what's doubling every 7 months, she says in the video.
And it was specifically coding challenges, right? I think they said that.
Yeah, she says something about that coding is like that software engineering is specifically very good for these kind of benchmarks, and she talks about SWE bench.
Yeah,
that's one of the things they work on.
I think the main thing was that it's easier to gauge, like it's just kind of easier to measure these types of tasks.
Right. I wasn't totally clear on why that was, just because those are like often well-defined tasks that aren't as messy.
Yeah, that was kind of just like an aside in the video. Like she says, like, and we can get into details of that, why that is later, and they don't. And that was kind of interesting. Maybe they'll make a follow-up video someday about that. Yeah, so their findings were that by 2028, AI models may be capable of completing tasks that currently take humans 16 hours. 2028. This is 2025 right now. So, like, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, we're only a few years away from... I mean, a 16-hour task that's extremely impressive.
Yeah, but that's 2 work days.
Yeah. I could stay home. I could work 3 days a week and have my AI buddy go in for me 2 days. And we take the weekend together.
So what I find interesting is, like, I mean, and they had pretty good history of data to look at. But it's still, to me, from the outside looking in, someone who's not a researcher, feels like it's a little early for us to be saying that this is, like, going to hold for a long time. Do you feel that way?
Yes. Yep. The chart that she shows goes back to, I think, looks like maybe 2019, like some of the earliest GPT-2 models and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think it's pretty early to be making predictions about the trajectory of this curve. It seems like, yeah, we don't have a ton of sample data yet.
Yeah, the only thing is what they show in the chart is that it has been incredibly steady. Like, it is every 7 months it doubles, right? Like, almost every single 7 months.
Yep.
Like, that's interesting. But I don't know. Have you seen that tweet where the guy's like, "Yeah, my son was born at 8 pounds, and a year later he's 20 pounds. So by these projections, by the time he's 12, he'll be 400 pounds or something like that.
No.
I mean, it does feel that way a little bit, right? Like, of course, the very first model was like really bad, and then the next one was like way better, and the next one was way better. And I feel like we've already seen a little bit of it. Already feels like we've had diminishing returns a little bit. Claude 4 just came out, and like it's better than whatever the previous one was, but it doesn't feel like groundbreaking the way like these things have been.
Let's talk about that. I feel like I've seen a lot of people posting similar sentiments on Hacker News and stuff like that. That maybe in the last year or so. I mean, 2022, I kind of feel like was like a breakthrough, right? ChatGPT. I just remember a lot of people, even people I wouldn't expect, not even at work and stuff, being like, "You tried ChatGPT? It's crazy, right?" And I do feel like in the last, I don't know, year or so, some of that magic has worn off a little bit. That people are like, "Yeah, new one's probably better," but it doesn't feel like the massive change that 0 to ChatGPT was, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta say, like, kind of about that, like, hearing people that you didn't think would talk about it, like, I have, in the last couple of years, run into people, like, just regular people in my life that, they ask me what I do, and I tell them, and then their first thing is, like, so do you do, like, machine learning stuff? Do you know about, like, AI tool? Like, what do you think about these things, like, doing your job or whatever? And it's just kind of interesting. I don't ever want to be like dismissive about stuff, but like it does remind me. Like I remember when I finished, around the time I finished college, I was telling like an Uber driver what I did or something, and he was like, "What do you think about like all these like Indians and Chinese people taking all your jobs?" And I was kind of like, like, I mean, he was talking about like offshoring, not like immigration, but because that was like kind of a hot topic for a while too in this industry, right? Like, all these jobs are going to go overseas.
Sure.
And I remember being like, well, yeah, that's a thing that happens, but like, still like a really good career to get into. That there's a lot of employment opportunities here too, and that's kind of the way I feel now. It kind of feels like that similar thing. Like, maybe let's talk about that. Like, how do you see these types of tools like affecting employment in the future? I think that's the big topic right now.
Yeah. I'm really concerned, to be honest. Up until a few years ago, up until, maybe 2 years ago, I would have said everyone needs to learn a little coding. It's the way of the world. Everything, I'm looking around, everything has a computer in it, right? It's important to understand how software works and stuff like that. I don't know if I would recommend software engineering as a career path anymore. The uncertainty around AI makes me a little hesitant to recommend it, honestly.
Yeah. When it comes to like junior people, I don't know. I think anybody who claims to know is like too confident in themselves. I don't think anyone really knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But I generally feel like we're going to have software jobs like for the near future, for a good while. I think people like, I think it's going to be an instance of engineers getting faster and better. I don't think that's necessarily going to lead to like layoffs. That would be weird.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, you think much like offshoring, it's still you don't think it's going to result in like huge numbers of people being laid off, the tech industry shrinking to like just a small number of people who write the AI systems, for example, or something like that?
Yeah, that's my prediction, is that the overall employment is not going to be wildly impacted. The other thing I think a lot about is like if it is, like, let's say that like in 10 years, all the programming jobs are just done by AI tools, except for like a very small number of them. It's hard to even imagine what that world even looks like. I mean, honestly, at that point, you've got like how many software engineers are there in America? You know, a few million. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
a few 100,000 maybe. Let me look this up. Let me look BLS. Let me get some good numbers here.
ChatGPT. How many people?
Yeah. Okay. Number for computer programmers, the number of jobs in 2023 is 139,400.
That seems low to me.
That does feel a little low. Apparently, the job outlook for the next 10 years is a 10% decline, according to BLS.
I don't know. I could buy a 10% decline. I don't think that sounds insane. That doesn't even sound worst case scenario.
Anyway, so let's say 139,000 jobs disappear in the next 10 years. Like, I guess that's not really as profound as I thought. Like, I was imagining, like, okay, if every programmer like lost their job, even if you're not a programmer, you're going to feel that. But maybe that's not really true. 139,000 across the country. I don't know. I don't have the knowledge to make a claim like that.
Yeah, I don't either. I do think that maybe more so than the number of jobs, though, like eliminating an entire like sector of the industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that people would feel that. I think people would probably panic a little at the idea that, especially if it happens in the next 10 years. I mean, that's an extremely, let's say all of those jobs disappear in the next 10 years. That's a very quick decline, right? That's very...
Well, and another thing is, I mean, if every computer programmer is getting let go, then other people are getting let go too.
Yeah.
So, I do kind of feel like, you know, people say like, oh, you're a programmer, your job's going to be replaced by a computer. Like, I mean, I don't feel like anyone is really safe from that kind of scenario. So, I don't know. Maybe this is some sort of logical fallacy, but it feels to me like not prepared. Like, I can't really prepare for like World War III, so I don't really worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's kind of a similar thing. If AI tools get so advanced that everyone loses their job, I mean, I'm not going to be any worse off than anyone else, really.
Right. I think the best you can do there is like try to learn the AI stuff like we were talking about in that first article, and like be ready for an impact. But you're right. I mean, if it eliminates like entire hundreds of thousands of jobs, then there's really not much you can do to prepare for that except like learn to do woodworking.
Yeah. And that's another thing, honestly. This might sound conceited, but I feel like I'm somewhat confident in my ability to re-skill if I had to. Obviously, it would be a big pay cut, and I'd have to like be basically starting my career over. But I feel like, at least me personally, I'm not going to be like, oh, the one thing I know how to do is gone. You know, like I'm going to sit here and be sad about it. Like, you know, I feel like I could figure something out.
What? I don't know. Maybe this is off topic. What would you do if, let's say, they let you go because they're like, AI is just going to do your project now, and you know, you look around the job market, it looks like job prospects are not so good. If you had to make a career change, where would you go, Collin?
So I've thought about this. Like, so, I mean, I've said on the podcast before, I studied electrical engineering in college. So I think my first step is like, hey, all those connections I had back then, like, does this job still exist? I feel like it should. Like, can I do something like that? You know? Again, I'd be starting my career over, and that would be hard to make, like, to pivot, but if I could, that's probably would be the best move for me. If I couldn't do that, and this is where it gets kind of complicated, I think most programmers would try to switch into being like a business analyst or something like that. Yeah. I think that'd be like the most natural transition. But you have to imagine, if all programmers don't have their jobs, then that's going to be a really hard transition to make for you too, right? Yep. If everyone's doing that same thing. Uh, this just like popped in my head the other day. Like, I think going to welding school would be really fun.
Oh, dude,
I've
yeah.
never welded, but I think welding would be cool. So that's kind of like my, if none of those other things work, I could see myself going to welding school for a little bit in welding.
Oh, hell yeah. I have a friend who's a welder. He's been running his own deal for like 10 plus years now. Yeah, welding's awesome.
Yeah.
Get to wear a cool
What about
mask.
you?
I don't know. That's not something I've thought about, to be honest. I think you're kind of right about that. A lot of programmers would try to pivot to kind of like business stuff and project management stuff. I wouldn't be surprised though if a lot of the project management stuff ends up in this, scenario that we're talking about ends up being AI taken by AI too, right?
Right.
AI can shuffle around Jira tickets.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think that I might try to lean into something with my creative hobbies, like the music or the visual stuff. I think that in a world where AI is doing more and more of it, I think there's going to be eventually a demand from people for like real live events, seeing live people do live things in person. And I think that, I've been messing around with some of these like real-time audio visuals and even just making music. I don't know. I might try to lean into that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I think that, who knows what the art world is probably even more unstable than the software engineering world in the coming AI revolution.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's hard to predict what what this hypothetical world even looks like.
Yeah. I think you're 100% right that nobody knows for sure. We're all just kind of throwing darts, and I don't know. It's gonna be a wild ride.
Well, do you have anything else to say about AI Moore's Law?
I don't think so. We'll keep an eye on it. I agree with you that it's not a ton of sample data. It only goes back a few years, but it does match the exponential curve pretty well, and we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
All right, whose side are you on?
Let's go.
Okay, I have a few here. I've seen this thing around Twitter recently. How do we feel about that thing where you install an app on macOS and you have to drag the icon into the applications folder? How do we feel about that?
Oh, yeah. Interesting one for me. I still consider myself a new Mac user, even though I've been doing it for the last like 10 years. That is one of the Mac features that stayed like so consistent. Ever since the Macs that I was using in like elementary school, I feel like that was maybe not that far back. But anyway, I don't mind the dragging to the applications folder. I think that's a perfectly valid kind of like way to install an application. What I don't like is the thing where what you were installing is now mounted as a volume and you have to eject it.
Yeah, and it's on your desktop.
That part makes no sense. It never has. It feels like some kind of weird, antiquated thing that they've just stuck with. It's like, no, I just want to install the thing, and then I always want to eject it. Why would I want to keep it around on my desktop?
Yeah. It's amazing. I haven't heard anyone talk about that, but I see a lot of people say they post a screenshot of the little window with the drag thing. They're like, why do we still have to do this? And it's like, just drag the thing. I don't have a strong opinion about this at all. I think, I would prefer it to be a button, I think, just from like a usability kind of accessibility standpoint. Mm-hmm. Like, rather than dragging and dropping, I don't know if it was a button or it's just some sort of like acknowledge, like similar to like what hate to say it, like what Windows does with like their installers wizards, right? It's like you just click a button. Well, actually, you click like 20 million buttons, but if you just click one button, that would be good.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't like it, you can use brew. You can brew install. You know.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I try to brew install anything I can, just because it makes it. I think it makes it much easier to manage. I don't know how viable that is for like my mom or something, but
Yeah, but I feel like it was technical people that were complaining about this.
okay,
I feel like non-technical people are cool with the dragging and dropping.
right. I think that's who it's for, right? That
Yeah.
it's designed for your average person, and I don't know. The Windows installers leave a bad taste in my mouth too. I think they're clunky and I don't know. So I'm okay with the dragging and dropping. Just don't make me eject.
Yeah, that is very annoying. And I always forget about it. I'll just because I don't really even look at my desktop ever. Like, I've just always got my Windows open and I launch things through the Launchpad. So I'll just look at my desktop for the first time in a couple weeks and I'll be like, what the hell? What is Clippy or whatever I installed?
Yeah.
Drive. What is that? That's so weird.
I've taken to ejecting them immediately. Like if you, even in the window where you drag the thing to the applications folder, you can right click on the bottom bar and eject the volume right from there. I want it gone.
Yeah. Legitimately, that is dumb. That's annoying.
There's got to be a way to turn that off, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's so built into the thing.
I don't know. All right, let's do another one. I feel like we're having fun.
That was quick.
All right, this is another kind of open-ended one. I've had this on the list for a while. Do you like the show Black Mirror?
No.
Let's go.
I've only watched about half of the first season, and I did not like it at all. I wasn't into it. Didn't want to keep up with it. I don't know.
I also don't like it, and I feel like people. Well, sometimes people agree with me, but a lot of people get really offended that I don't like it.
Really?
And I don't know. I think they get the idea that if you don't like Black Mirror, then you think that you're a tech bro, and you think that social media rotting people's brains is good or something. I don't know.
I see.
Yeah, I guess they assume you have you have something against the themes of the show more than anything else.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, the show's not terrible, and there were episodes. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen episodes that I thought were okay. But my main issue with it is just it's so surface level critique. It's very bro, what if technology is bad, dude? You ever think of that? And that's the whole show,
Yeah.
And also, a lot of time feels like a show that a 13-year-old would think is really deep.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a little harsh, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
I think I know what you mean by that, by both of those criticisms. Yeah. So the one episode that I'm thinking of in particular that I think very much explains that was the. It's one of the very first episodes, and it's I'm trying. It's been years since I've watched it, but basically everyone is just walking on a treadmill all the time, and it has something.
That was
to do
the
with,
first episode I ever saw.
It has to do with ads and stuff like that, in the way that
Yeah.
we're monetized, and it's but I do kind of think it has that feel that you're talking about of wouldn't a world like this be crazy? And then that's kind of the extent of the commentary.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know that there's really much to it. And then the other episode that I remember was the pig one. And
the pig one, yeah. That's the very first episode. That one I at least appreciate the boldness of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, you guys went all the way in on the idea. So I like that. But I think the best way I can explain it is the first time I heard about it, it was a friend was telling me, he's you ever watch the show Black Mirror? And I'm what is that? I never heard of it. And he starts explaining it to me, and I'm oh, so it's kind of like the Twilight Zone? And he's like, what's that? And I was like, okay, that kind of tells me everything I need to know, right? Like, I mean, like that's so mean. That's such a knock. But like, honestly, like if you like Black Mirror, just go watch the Twilight Zone. Like,
Yeah.
not that like, hey, there are episodes of the Twilight Zone that are really stupid, but I mean, there are also episodes that are like life changing, or at least they were for me when I was 13. So maybe I don't know, but yeah, watch the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone was a formative show for you. I've only seen episodes here and there. I've never like sat down and watched it.
Every Independence Day and New Year's Day, they would do a marathon on Sci-Fi Channel, and it was like a marathon of just like the hits, right? That's the way to do it, because if you try to watch like every episode, there's like a lot of shit that just sucks. But yeah, very young age, I was watching those, and I mean, the Talking Tina episode, the haunted doll, that one really scared the hell out of me. Like, really, really freaked me out when I was like 10. And yeah, I mean, that one, and then like, I can't really talk about any of them without spoiling them, but the one where like the lights go off in the town, and they're all accusing each other of being an alien. That was a really bit, like, that's crazy. There's a few others like that. I mean, the guy who wants everyone to be quiet so he can read.
Yeah.
That's a classic. I mean, that's like genius.
I do know that
one. The kid who sends people to the cornfield with his mind.
I don't know that one.
That's a good one. That's a scary one. I think the fact that show isn't limited to any one idea makes it better too, as opposed to Black Mirror being just like technology and social media and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Twilight Zone, that's where it's at.
I should really watch those.
The one where the lady had a surgery on her face to make her pretty.
Yeah.
Another classic one.
I do know that one.
And there are some that suck. Like the William Shatner one where there's like a monster on the wing of the plane. Like, that one's pretty stupid.
Is it? I feel like that's one of the ones you hear about all
It
the
is
time.
one of the classic ones, but like it's kind of silly.
Okay. That's a William Shatner one? I didn't know that.
I think that's one of the William Shatner ones, yeah.
Oh. I don't know, man.
I think he's the guy looking out the window. I could be wrong, but
I've always meant to check back in on Black Mirror. I feel like I didn't give it a chance, but yeah, what I saw just did not intrigue me enough to keep watching.
There are ups and downs. There was one episode, I think it was the first season, where people like they can record their memories with like these contact lenses and watch them back. And I don't know, the idea was kind of like exploring, like, would you want to have all of your memories forever, or would you want to forget some things? So that was kind of interesting. But I don't know.
How far did you get in Black Mirror? Are you like, cause they've had like 6 seasons or something, right?
Yeah, I know I saw the first season. I probably saw some in the second season. I did that one. I watched that one that was like an interactive game.
Oh yeah, starts with a
I did
B.
that. Yeah, that sucked. So yeah, I haven't seen a lot. So maybe there's some really good ones that I'm missing. That's the thing about any anthology show. You know, there's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Black Mirror ones have different directors and all that stuff, right? They're
right,
different
yeah.
writers, and so yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Quality's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I was going to make a Black Mirror episode, what would it be about?
Oh man.
I feel like they've probably done all the obvious stuff.
Yeah.
Can I just make The Matrix? I would just make The Matrix.
Yeah, that's the scary future, is that we're all just heads in jars, or babies attached to the Matrix vine.
No, I mean, I'm just going to have people do kung fu in a computer.
Oh.
Like, just the cool parts of The Matrix, you know?
just the cool
just
parts.
the bullet time and everyone wearing black and Rage Against the Machine playing.
Yeah, that'd be cool as hell.
Yeah.
I was at a bar yesterday and I heard Rage Against the Machine.
Cool story. What was it? Was it like the one song that everyone knows?
Killing in the Name.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Were you headbanging or like?
I was tapping my foot lightly. Like you do.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd need some time to think about that, but I don't know. It could be kind of fun to like write a Black Mirror episode. What would you write
I
it
think
about?
it would be fun. I mean, I think about stuff like this all the time. Like if I was gonna make a Godzilla movie, what would it be or whatever? I don't know.
Do you come up with anything good?
Like, Godzilla is just the first thing that came to my mind. I've never thought of that before. I have thought about like if I was going to make a sequel to The Matrix, and I have thought about I think about superhero movies and stuff.
If you're going to make a superhero movie, what you don't get to make up a new superhero, but what existing superhero would be in your movie?
Well, here's the thing: is they've done them all. That's the thing I think about. I used to have sort of a short list of like lesser known superheroes that I would like to see in the movies. And they've legitimately done it. Like, I remember thinking as a kid, like, oh, they'll never do She-Hulk. Now there's a TV show about She-Hulk. They'll never do the Submariner, and he shows up in the second Black Panther movie. I think it would be cool if somebody tried Ghost Rider again. Tried to make a good Ghost Rider movie.
They did a Nicolas Cage one, right?
Yeah. I didn't like that movie.
Okay.
I think generally people didn't like it. I think it'd be cool if they tried to make a good one. Although, I don't really know much about Ghost Rider. I don't think his comics are really that good either. So,
have they done Wolverine? Just kidding. I was just. Aren't there like 10,000 Wolverine movies?
Yeah, there's a lot of Wolverine movies. I would like to see another Hulk movie.
What was? Oh, he shows up in a bunch of them, right? But he doesn't have his own movie.
Yeah. So there's like a legal thing about this where like supposedly, like from what I understand, like Marvel/Disney they have the rights to have him show up in movies, but they don't have the rights to make a movie about him specifically because of the deal with Legendary Pictures, which was the 2004 Hulk movie they made.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like one of the few properties they still don't totally have. And I just think that sucks because like the Hulk is like a really big character, really important for the Avengers and the universe and stuff. And he really only had one official like Marvel Universe movie, and then the one Ang Lee movie before that.
What was the Marvel Universe one? When did that come out?
It came out the same year that Iron Man came out. It was called The Incredible Hulk, and it was really overshadowed by Iron Man and The Dark Knight. Those all came out the same summer. So, like, no one's seen it. And it's also considered to be, like, one of the worst movies in the whole franchise.
Oh. But it was part of the whole, like, initial, 17 movie or whatever arc?
Yeah, it's like the second one. It came out, like, right after Iron Man. So, officially, like, okay, so it's the second one. So that would be, like, the first one that's part of the series, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's making it a series. Because Iron Man was just a movie. The Incredible Hulk was like the first movie that had a post-credit sequence that tied it into another movie. And another reason why people forgot about it, I think, is because that's one of the few times that they replaced an actor in that series. So Edward Norton was in the Incredible Hulk movie, and then the Hulk is played by Mark Ruffalo in all the other movies.
Oh. Edward Norton was the Hulk?
Yeah. He was Bruce Banner.
I don't see it.
I thought he was pretty good. There's been like different rumors as to why he was replaced, but I think it's kind of an open secret that he's kind of just like a jerk and really hard to work with.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching this video about how like apparently on American History X, he was just like a huge asshole and just kind of like bullied the director into making the movie the way he wanted to. So supposedly he was kind of like that for The Incredible Hulk too. I don't know. I've also heard people say that it was just a money thing. Either way, I don't know. They replaced him with Mark Ruffalo.
Hold on, I gotta look up a picture of Mark Ruffalo. I don't know who that is.
I mostly know him as the Hulk. He's in damn, that Jim Carrey movie where they fall in love again.
Eternal Sunshine?
Yeah, he's in that. One of the like more minor characters.
Okay. Yeah, his face looks familiar. Yeah. Okay.
He's in Shutter Island.
Scorsese movie?
Yeah.
I never saw that, and I don't even know like what it's about or anything.
Oh, you should see it. It's good. And you should see it without knowing what it's about.
Okay. Shutter Island. I don't think anyone has ever recommended that movie to me. I'm putting that on my movie list.
I think that also came out in 2008.
It's a good year for movies.
Let's see. Some people hate this movie, actually.
Oh,
but I like
okay.
it. 2010. It was 2010.
Controversial?
Yeah, I know. I have a friend who doesn't like this movie at all. So, I don't know. I like it. All right, this has been the 1X Movie Podcast.
Yeah. Yep. One of these days. Well, I guess we just did an episode about a movie I'd seen, Tim's Premiere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We are a movie podcast now.
I was going to say, I haven't seen a lot of movies, so it's hard for me to do a movie podcast, but we just did one on a movie.
What's another movie about computers? Like the Steve Jobs movie?
Yeah, there's that. Oh, hey, this isn't a movie, but did you ever watch Halt and Catch Fire?
No.
It was like I think it was set in like the early days of computing. I think it was like people working out of their garages on the early computer stuff. I always thought that looked interesting, but I'd never watched it. And I heard
it sounds interesting. It's got a good like reviews. Oh, there's Mr. Robot. People talk about Mr. Robot.
I've seen the first season of Mr. Robot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I seem to remember the hacking in that one being more believable than most stuff. It was
I think that's the idea. It's supposed to be like realistic.
Yeah, there were no like screens.
I think the thing is though, like realistic hacking just like isn't really that fun to watch. Yeah. It's kind of a boring show of like this guy looking at logs, you know.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling through my logs here. I mean, I don't think that took up a big part of the show or anything like that. But I don't know. I like Mr. Robot. Did you see Mr. Robot?
Like you, I think I saw the first season or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I kind of wish I'd kept up with that one. Maybe I'll revisit that one someday.
All right. With that, I think we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good. Catch you guys next time.
See ya.
1X Developer Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Collin. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the 1X Developer Podcast and let you know that if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to tell us about your day, you can reach us at X, formerly known as Twitter, at 1X Developer Podcast. We're also on YouTube at 1X Developer Podcast. You can email us if you're weird at 1xdeveloperpodcast@protonmail.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss any further episodes of the 1X Developer Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time. Thank you.